Hi, Critic of Creation here in my third video in the Questioning Islam series. This is actually the first of two videos, both discussing the same subject, and I was going to put them together into one large video, but I wasn't sure if you'd like that. For those watching, let me know if you prefer the longer videos that address a single viewpoint or prefer more shorter videos. Anyway, in this video, it's regards to evolution. Now, evolution is a scientific fact. There is literally tons of evidence that support this and demonstrate how species evolved into what we have today. It doesn't matter if you don't like this or don't want to believe it, this is not going to change the evidence that we have. On with the video.
Evolution. I'm only kidding. Evolution is a huge debate. I don't even know why we have this debate. It's very simple.
Great. Starting with a lie. We don't really have a huge debate. We have people who understand evolution based on the scientific knowledge that we have accumulated, and we have people who deny it based on their inaccurate 1,000-plus-year-old religious books because they can't accept the truth. I'm not sure why we have this debate either, but I'm pretty confident you are about to illuminate me.
For me, anyway. I think we should approach this from an epistemic perspective. What do I mean by that? Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Now, when we study the philosophy of science, we come to an understanding, brothers and sisters, that it's not the gospel truth, right?
I really don't like the way you've instantly muddied the water by talking about epistemology, which is quite a complex branch of philosophy, rather than actually addressing the question. I also think you have got epistemology and the philosophy of science confused with one another. I agree the two are closely linked, but if we are talking about the philosophy of biology, for example, we'll be discussing aspects that are not covered by science alone, such as where logic originates. Either way, anything constructive you have to say on the matter was instantly destroyed the moment you assumed that science is not gospel. And although you are rather vague in this statement, I can only assume that you mean it's not entirely true, like a religious book supposedly is.
It's not 100% true. Let me give you a crude example. Science uses induction as a thinking method or as a way of making conclusions. What is induction practically? Induction is you take a limited number of observations and you conclude for the next observation, which is called weak induction, or the entire set of observations, which is called strong induction. The point is, your conclusion is not necessarily true. It ranges from a probability of 0% to 99%.
Wrong. While it is true science does use induction, it is not the only method that it uses. To propose that it is means that you either don't understand the scientific method of determining results, or you do, and you are simply lying. You're making it sound like a scientist has only ever seen black cats, and therefore expects all cats everywhere to be black. In reality, it proposes things such as, all life forms on Earth require water to survive. Therefore, we expect all future life forms found on our planet to require water to survive. Like I've said, it is one method that can be used to determine the likelihood that something is true.
So when you question any sincere scientist, you say, have you had or do you have an infinite number of observations for your conclusion? You're like, golly, no. Of course not. So from that perspective, it's not 100% true. So there is an element of doubt. Things can change.
Do you even understand what infinity means? It is a concept and it is without end. So of course no one could have performed an infinite amount of experiments. Is this the best argument you could come up with? Because no one can perform an impossible task, all science is wrong? That concept applies to every single thing if that's the case. Because we haven't performed an infinite amount of experiments on whether humans need to eat and drink, there is an element of doubt about whether they need to eat or drink. A billion experiments proving gravity? Sorry, it's not an infinite number of experiments and therefore there is doubt. The thing is, science accepts that things can be wrong within our understanding of science, and if we discover something new, we adapt our knowledge and understanding to incorporate that. The only thing that professes to have no doubt and doesn't accept new evidence is religion.
So, when you have a conclusion from science such as evolution, and a conclusion from theology that says, yes, we may accept animal evolution, but not human evolution, or there's a big discussion, or there's some kind of irreconcilable difference.
You can't just cherry pick which bits of evolution you want to believe. It's kind of a package deal. If you accept evidence for the evolution of animals, then you must also accept the evolution of mankind.
What do? I say, fine, let's go to the epistemic approach. What is the source of the Quran? I believe it to be from the divine. It's divine knowledge and wisdom. And I can show that outside of the empirical realities using reason, using other arguments.
Which you're not going to demonstrate here because I suspect that you can't really prove it. You just like to say that you can and hope that no one asks too many questions.
Science is great. It's a blessing from God. It's one of the manifestations of His mercy. We're encouraged in the Quran to look into the empirical realities. But we also understand that God has the picture, we have the pixel. And every sincere scientist says this.
I'm really going to need a citation here because there are a load of scientists out there who don't believe in God or the gospel. Also, you say science is great and a blessing from God, but I'm guessing that blessing doesn't extend to when science disproves how inaccurate your religious text is.
So what I would say is, as a believer who doesn't necessarily accept evolution theologically, as, for example, if I was a scientist, I would say, it's the best we have. It's amazing, isn't it? Wow. Let's keep on working with it and keep on doing the science. But do you accept it as part of your creedal framework? No, because you know that you have an alternative method of, or alternative source of knowledge you think which is higher epistemically in terms of its epistemic value, its value of knowledge, than the method of science because it's based on induction 0 to 99%.
I knew it, I bloody well knew it, that you were going to use the argument of epistemology to somehow try and disprove all of science. It doesn't work like that, not at all. You can't say that because science cannot 100% say that something happened, that a religious book is therefore somehow more accurate because of a discipline of philosophy. That's not the only thing wrong with your argument here, but at this stage I'm pretty confident you don't have a clue what you're talking about.
So say evolution's around the 95% mark.
Let's not, unless you've actually got a citation for that figure, which I'm pretty confident you've just made up. Let's say it's 99.9999999999 recurring percent mark. That would be a little bit more accurate.
It's still not the gospel truth, if you like. We believe this to be the Quranic or gospel truth. So therefore, we take one over the other. But it doesn't mean you reject the science. It's saying it's the best that we have with our current observations, and we're working with it. And maybe we'll catch up.
The gospel truth is just a saying, a metaphor based on when people believed it to be the infallible word of God. It doesn't actually mean that the gospel is perfectly true, and we know that because science repeatedly demonstrates that lots of it are impossible.
To what the Quran says. There's another way of looking at this, is by looking at the Quranic discourse and saying, the words are quite ambiguous with multi-layered meanings, maybe we can correlate. That has been tried to be done. I think it's failed because there are some issues which are quite definite, such as the fact that Adam did not have any father or anything prior to him that was alive.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this again unless you can prove otherwise. Adam wasn't real.
So that's a big issue. You could claim it's a miracle. You could accept evolution and claim that Adam, upon him be peace, is a miracle. Of course you can. But these are some ways that I've been trying to deal with this. I've written an essay on this called Have We Misunderstood Evolution? It goes through the epistemic approach.
Yes, you have misunderstood evolution. Pretty much all of it.
I don't even talk about the science because I'm not a scientist, I have no idea. I just talk about it from a conceptual perspective to give you the tools to try and understand this. And it's on my website, hamzajorges.com.
Ah, so you're not a scientist. Look, if you're going to talk about science, at least have some basic understanding of the scientific principles behind the subject you are talking about. You cannot sit there and do a presentation about why evolution is incorrect when you openly admit that you don't really understand it. It not only makes you sound uninformed, but it points out to the viewer that you are unwilling to change your mind ever because you have reached a conclusion before you have examined all the evidence. I feel that your entire argument boiled down to the belief that the Quran is the irrefutable word of your God, and therefore nothing else can ever be 100% certain, and therefore it must be God. If that is your genuine belief, then that is truly worrying, as you make no attempt to even debate the theory of evolution or the mountains of evidence that support it. Your entire argument boils down to, nuh-uh. I'm sorry, you seem like a nice guy, but it is an F for utter abject failure. As always, if you liked my video, give me a thumbs up or a share. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below, and I will do my best to get back to you. Up until next time.